Hey, welcome back, my amazing student. This is the Python mentor here, and in today's lecture, we're going to show you how to master lists. Now, let's go ahead and first learn how to define a list in Python. So let's create a list here. And the way we do this is very simple. We add or assign square brackets to a variable. Simple as that. Now, inside the square brackets, we're going to use values. And these values need to be separated by comma. And that's how the language is going to know, hey, listen, this is a list. This is not just a regular variable. It's going to be a list. But it doesn't matter if it's a list or not. Python is going to treat this as an object. And we're going to see in a minute how we can use different things when we are using lists in Python. So let's just put some values in here. I'm creating a list here real quick. And now I'm just going to print out the value. I'm going to print out the whole list actually, so that way you can see how this actually works. So we got the whole list here, no surprise, no biggie, right? Let's go ahead and add some things to it. So I'm going to grab the now object, right? And I'm going to use this method that is attached to it by default with Python because you are creating a list. The minute you do this, Python is going to attach methods that we can use or functions, right? So let's say I wanted to add bananas here. Right? Now what I can do is if I print out the new list here, or should I say the same list but modify basically, you can see that a new item has been added, right? So I'm printing out the old unmodified list and I'm printing out the new modified list. Now Python does not create a new list, a new copy. It doesn't do that, right? It uses that same address in memory to add an item to it. So let's go ahead and add something in a specific order here. So right now we are appending a value here or adding a value to the end of the list. Let's go ahead and add a value to the beginning of the list. Let's add a value here. Now, lists in Python are index-based most of the time, right? Actually, all the time. They're going to have an index. They're going to have 0, 1, and 2. They're going to start in the number, or should I say at 0, and then keep going from there, right? Incrementing from there, 0, 1, 2. So if I wanted to add something here in index 0, what I could do is I can grab the object and I say insert now. Insert, and I give it the 0 index in this case. I give it the index and the value that I want to use. And I want to use butter. I think I can spell it like this, butter, right? And we're going to print this new list and see what we get. And now you can see that butter has been added to that new list right there. Butter, right? Super, super cool. Make sure you save your document. So I'm going to just print out the new list right here. Butter, milk, eggs, and bread. Okay? So let's say, for example, here, let's go ahead and do some other things. Let's remove items from the list. So to remove items, let me clear this out. All right, to remove items, we can do this by value or we can do this by index. So by value, what we can do is we can use the method called remove. And let's say I wanted to remove milk from that list. So I'll just make sure that you put this in exactly the same. All right, if you use lowercase m here, it's not going to do that. So it's case sensitive. It's not going to remove anything if you don't use exactly the same word, all right? So sometimes I don't like to remove by value, right? Unless I normalize the value. But anyway, so let's go ahead and run this and you can see that I removed milk, right? Now I can also remove by index. So what I can do is if I wanted to remove milk, right now if we print out our list, it's going to print out milk, eggs, and bread because we're not doing anything to it, right? I comment all this out. So what I could do is I can use pop here. Now, when I use pop like this and I print this out, again, you can see eggs and bread. You can see the same thing we did before because I'm removing it by index. I'm removing the value here on index 0. Now, one thing I could do here as well, I can also use that value that I removed, popped item. And I can grab here that popped item and use it. So in my programs, I can grab that value and use it somewhere else if I wanted to. So if I do this, you can see now that we got milk as a value here. So let me just clear this out and make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. You can see milk right here. Okay? So we can remove that value and use it anywhere in our program. So that's very useful. All right? So let's go ahead and do something else here. Let's go ahead and slice, which is the last part of this. So I'm going to actually use groceries here so that way we can keep seeing what's going on. So if I go ahead and print this out again, you can see that I have my list again, milk, eggs, and bread. Simple as that, all right? I'm just doing this so that way you guys can see what's going on. So now, to slice things out. Now, let's say I want to slice. When we talk about slice, we're talking about getting a piece of this out of the list, right? Slice it out. So let's put another item here. Let's put bananas at the end. Bananas. Just like that. Let's say I wanted to slice out milk and eggs. So I'm going to do it right here. As a matter of fact, if I do print here and I can say groceries. I want to just pop out and I'm going to do :3. So I'm going to pop out actually just 2 of them out. And if I go ahead and execute this, you can see that I see milk and eggs. Let's just come back here again, run this again. And you can see that I see milk and eggs out, right? That's part. So we left bread and bananas out because we sliced these 2 out of there. And we use this syntax here, colon and the number 2. What if I didn't want to just slice the 3, the first 2? What if I wanted to slice the last 2? How would I do that? How would I take those values out? Well, let's go ahead and instead of doing the colon in the beginning, right, we actually put the number before. So let's go ahead and put the colon down here. And then what we do is we put the negative. So when we do in programming, when you want to find out the last part of something, especially a list, most of the time you're going to use a negative. All right? So we're going to come to the end of the list here, and then we're going to go back twice, right? 1 and 2. And that's going to give us the last 2, right? So now, let's print this out. Let's run this. Go back here, and we can run this here so that way you can see it. And now we got the last 2, bread and bananas. Simple as that. Now, if you wanted to use the values, right? If you wanted to use the values, all you have to do is get this stuff out of here. We don't have to print it. And we can say put it in a variable, last 2. Just like that. And then we just use the value. In this case, we're just printing out the value, but you can do whatever you want with this value, right? So we run this. Let's open our console, and let's run this. And you got the values out, right? You got that part out. Well, you're not popping it out, but you're getting that list out in this variable here. And then you can use it however you want, right? We were printing out the value that we have in this variable. But now that you have it in a variable here, you can go ahead and loop through it and pull it out and modify and do whatever you want with it, right? But anyway, it doesn't work like popping out the value, because when we do pop out, it pops out the value, the string or whatever value is in that list, out of that list. So it's not a list anymore, it's the value itself, all right? Here, you still have a list here, but you have a list with just those values, okay? Don't get that confused. All right, so the last part here that I want to do is updating a list, all right? So let's go ahead and get this out of that, and let's update a list real quick. So let's go ahead, and right now we have a list, and our list is very simple. It's milk, eggs, bread, and bananas. Let's update bananas at the end, right? And let's just say groceries. And we're going to grab the square brackets, and we're going to give it a index location, a location by index. 0, 1, and bananas is 0, 1, 2, and 3. Bananas is actually index number 3, right? 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to modify index 3, and I'm going to name it new bananas. New bananas. Bananas. Just like that. And let's go ahead and print that out. Let's print out groceries again. And let's open this up. And let me make it a little bigger so that way you guys can see it again. Run this file. And you can see now that we have new bananas at the end added or updated. Okay? Now, this, what I show you in this video, you can go back and look at it multiple times. But what I suggest you guys do is play around with these examples that I've given you. Go ahead and do exactly the same thing that I have been doing here. Play around with it so that way you guys can get a good idea how this actually works. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you guys on the next lecture. Take care.